Now, it's recording now. What's up? I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but if you can see me and hear me, it's Wednesday night. Let's go. B minor with who else we got here?
The X Factor, and if you can see me and hear me, that must also mean it's Wednesday night.
Let's go. And I am also really excited because we have a super guest tonight, Andrew Sorenson. I've known for a long time. Roommates of his in college were friends of mine, and we've just connected and stayed in touch. Now, one thing I respect about Andrew was a walk-on, right? X Factor.
Hey, listen, walk-ons, they're the best people. They're the best people by far, hands down. It's over with. Best people.
Student assistants are great. Managers are awesome. But if you're a walk-on, that means you're good enough not to be a manager, but you're not quite good enough to get a scholarship. But the guest we have tonight, and this might be factual, it might be made up, but what I've heard is he didn't play his first 3 years a single minute and was so good that Coach Mark Few from Gonzaga gave him a scholarship his fourth season, having not played a second. Is that accurate, Andrew?
Very close.
Okay.
Very close.
Oh, close.
You know,
tell us the real story.
There's kind of a, margin of error, statistical relevance here is kind of the marker. Like, if you play 3 seconds in a game, does that really count? Especially if you're just
3 seconds in the game that we beat Gonzaga.
Okay, there you go. So maybe statistically relevant, that just totally, defaults the story to be it's inaccurate. But, there were a couple of seconds played here and there. There were a few shots missed. I didn't really make anything until, a couple years in, but hey.
No, that's awesome. No, but you had logged Club Trillion, one
Totally.
by all zeros. That's what we talked about as walk-on.
And listen, if I've learned one thing as a walk-on is that we don't talk about the misses. The misses, people forget about the misses, but people remember the makes, though.
People do remember the makes of walk-on.
So, with that being said, literally my most famous make was the first one I ever made, and it was like first couple of years at Nike. A couple of my coworkers went to YouTube to try to figure out, like, is this guy totally full of smoke and like didn't actually play? Like, he might be kind of tall and he might be kind of strong, but he's totally not a basketball player. He's not that good looking. He can't jump that high. So they had to go to YouTube to verify whether or not I really played. And so someone found a clip of me hitting a shot. Well, they ended up showing that at one of our team meetings, and everybody went nuts. They're like, oh my God, look at this. Andrew just won the game, and the crowd went nuts. I go, yeah, it's exactly what happened. Mind the score that happens to be a 30-something point blowout, and it happens to be the first one I ever made, and everyone was just so happy that he didn't miss another one. Like, that's why people went crazy. But everyone thought I won the game, essentially the NCAA tournament. And I was cool with that. So I just let that one ride.
I think I would have been cool with that too. I hope to this day you still didn't tell him the truth.
I think I told one person because I was dying so hard. I was like, I can't not tell you the truth because I'm just that kind of guy, right? We walk-ons, the character inside us is just so strong. We make sure that all the balls are racked after practice. All the water bottles are in the whole, you guys, just the character. I couldn't let that lie run.
Yeah, I respect that. And somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do that stuff. Like B Minor said, we do some manager stuff and some player stuff. We got the best of both worlds.
That's awesome, though. But what the moral of that story, Ponce is awesome, too. I don't know if you've seen that. I have that one where he makes his first bucket. Let's see if I can pull that up. Because I haven't found yours. But let's see if you can see, there's the X Factor. There's the X Factor at the line. Big East logo. Look at the bench. Tied game.
Man. Got the
1 second on the clock. The score is tied.
The NCAA championship.
And the crowd goes wild. Let's go.
Nothing but net.
All three people in the crowd went crazy.
I love it. I love it.
It's still just as scary. It's still just on that line. It don't matter how many people in the stands. You're like, oh my goodness.
I'll tell you what, I got 2 free throws, and I was like, man, this is the first 2 shots, and I don't know when the next 2 shots are going to be that I'm going to get to take. I shot the first one. I missed it. I was like, no, please don't tell me I'm going to get a chance to miss both. Come on. And then by the grace of God, the second one went in. I was like, yes, I have a video for Twitter.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's his point. But that's his point, Andrew. I had 11. I mean, I don't want to brag in a group of walk-ons. Like it's cool to be, but I had 11 points. I played 21 games and I had 11 points. And I'm older than you guys, but the internet was around.
Yes.
So you can still go back and see that I played in the game when we beat the Zags at the old kennel, Andrew.
Ooh. That was one place I wish I got to play.
That shows me a little bit how old I am, but we beat the Zags, Blake Stepp, Roni Turioff. Yeah. They had some guys, and we surprised them. But it was a crazy atmosphere. A few more people watching the Zags versus the Pilots than the Pilots versus anybody else.
For sure. For sure.
It's horrible at University of Portland.
This is where I was going to go. Yeah.
We come running out, right, at home, getting booed loudly on our home court because there's so many more Zags fans there than University of Portland fans.
Uh-huh.
Right?
It's the Kennel West. Yeah. It's the Kennel West.
Tough. It's tough. That's why it's a home court advantage even when they're on the road. But we went to Gonzaga, to Spokane, and shocked the world. And I played 3
Well, that's why y'all shocked the world.
I played 3 seconds, right? Like legitimately, 7 seconds left. 7 seconds in the game, and we're up 4 playing defense. Coach puts me into play defense, lockdown. I'm all over my guy. Blake Stepp comes down and drains one from like 38 with 4 seconds left.
What are you going to do?
Left. Coach pulls me out with 4 seconds to put in the offense. So we're going offense, defense. I was the defense part. But my plus minus, right? Plus minus, I played 3 seconds and Gonzaga had 3 points. Horrible. Horrible statistically. Very poor. But my name will always be in that box score.
Hey, that's what counts.
1 followed by all zeros. Let's go.
Hey, you allowed 1 PPS, point per second.
Yeah, that's crazy. Point per second, right?
But we won't talk about that one. Again, like I said earlier, people don't remember that stuff. They just remember the makes.
I usually just glide right over that part of the story, you guys. Like, back when I was playing, we beat Gonzaga, and I just kind of, or when we were playing Duke, and I just don't get into the fact that I wasn't really playing very much.
Andrew, one thing's for sure. On B Minor and the X Factor, the truth comes out.
This is,
yes. The truth does come out. I guess the fish wasn't this big that I caught in Alaska that year. But the free throw, the point that the X Factor has will always be on Twitter as long as Twitter sticks around, as long as the internet – I don't think the internet's going anywhere. I don't think it's a fad.
Hopefully you got that thing saved to the cloud somewhere, because, once TikTok and Twitter and all these things go, are last year's news, you're going to have to make sure you're able to show your kids and your grandkids what actually took place on those dates in history.
Oh, trust me, they will be seeing all of it. They're going to be seeing all that stuff. I'm not going to tell them about any of the bench time and none of that. They're only going to be seeing the videos that I want to show them. I'm going to tell them I was a starter.
My dad always tells me, he goes, I'm always getting better with age. I don't understand, but I'm getting better with age. The story just gets better with age. That's really what it is.
That's what it is. You're not getting better. Your memory's getting worse, which makes the memory better. If that makes sense.
You forget the bad parts. You forget about all the line sets you had to run for that, 1 second of playtime.
Yeah, we don't want to remember those. I got another year of those, man. Let's not talk about those.
Sometimes, though, I do tell the guys on our team at Pacific about them, and they're worse. They're worse than like we were talking about, like kind of exaggerate. You exaggerate maybe over time. So my free throws, my vertical has increased.
Mm-hmm.
The number of sprints I could do in a minute has increased. The girl that I dated is better looking. And right? I mean, the memory's going to get better as you age. Maybe?
At least that's what I'm holding myself to.
Just gets molded and shaped to whatever you want it to be as time progresses.
Especially as there's no way to really find the proof.
There's no way people are going to pull up a clip. I mean, there's no way they can find the VHS tapes from my high school career.
Yes.
Hard to find. I'm
going to start telling people in preschool I averaged 100.
What
are they going to say?
I was in the best shape of my life when I was 1. People were like, what are you, 0?
Yeah. Recess MVP in 5th grade. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. First pick, baby. First pick.
But that's what I love about being a walk-on is there's a lot of people that say, oh, I was better than you were. I could have played in college. And it's like, well, you didn't.
Yeah.
But a has-been is better than a never was. Write that down, Dylan.
That's nice.
A has-been is better than a never was all the time.
Yeah, you can't argue with that, and then try to avoid one-on-ones at the rec as much as possible. If you lose,
I always got a bum ankle when the kids are like, Coach Miner, let's play some ones. I'm like, let's get a shooting competition because man, I got this ankle thing bothering me.
Listen, you have nothing to gain and everything to lose.
If I get crossed up or fall over or dunked on, like, dude, okay, yeah, Luke Jackson did dunk on me, but he was a lottery pick. You play Division III. Right? Like, not that I'm talking trash to my players. I respect them, but I also respect my game enough not to try to challenge them too much.
Smart guy. Genius.
Yeah, I always love the pickup games where, I'm relatively unsuspecting. Most walk-ons can fit that profile when they walk into a gym. Relatively unsuspecting because you're not touching the rim by just jumping. Right? That's just not normally how we operate. And so, unsuspecting, you start playing a game and, you make a few more baskets than the guy guarding you expects. It's like, and then he, slaps the floor and he's going to guard you like it's the NCAA tournament. And you're like, bro, no, like this is not happening. So then maybe you elevate okay, I care a little bit more, but I really don't care that much. So then you score a few more points. And then someone that you're playing with, from way back when goes, oh, did you know this guy? He played. Oh, and it's like, okay, now it's time to leave because now people know I don't want to ruin it. Now I just got to leave, right?
You have to.
It's their Super Bowl though, right? Like when you're playing City League and all of a sudden people find out, oh, Brant, you played Division I? Oh, yeah, I did. Then all of a sudden it's their Super Bowl, right? This is the biggest game they've ever played, right? Like I'm trying to get a little cardio. I'm trying to get a little jumper. I'm trying to just play a little bit. And the guys I'm playing against, you would think that this was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and they're trying to lock down John Stockton because the way they're playing, I'm like, dude, like if you want to win that bad, I'm not trying to get my teeth busted up. I'm not gonna fight anybody in a City League basketball game. Like, I don't take it that serious.
A couple years after I was done and graduated, a couple of guys wanted to put together a City League team. And our roster was extensive. We had Richard Fox at point guard. We had Casey Calvary.
Okay.
We had the Floyd brothers. We had Pendergraph. We had B Mike for a little bit. We had who else we had? We had Blake Stepp for a little bit. We had Tangelo showed up for a couple. Like we were rolling deep, right? We were rolling deep. But the first year we played, like we blew people out by like 40 or 50 points. And towards the end, people were getting so mad that they started taking some cheap shots. And immediately after like a couple of games where like Casey set a screen, which, pickup games can get a little bit rough when, the 40s and the 50-year-old guys think that they're still 20. And now all of a sudden they're getting annihilated. Like the tensions just go up higher and they're pissed off. And Casey had hit a really hard screen on somebody because they didn't see it coming. And this guy turned around and like tried to grab his leg and lift him up. And it's like, of all the people who have short fuses, Calvary is one of those that while he's on the court, it's a very different length of fuse than when he's off the court. And we all had to like run and just throw him away because we were like, this dude is not going to be walking after what might actually happen. And we were like, you know what? We're done.
That's a stacked squad, though. Those names you're pulling out, Santangelo.
We also had Zach
Stepp,
Gord, Corey
Zach
Violette
Gord,
showed up for a game or two.
Corey Violette.
Dude, it was like
from.
I was living the dream of the 2002 and 2003 season.
Just facilitate, because I played 2002 to 2004.
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, I guarded Adam Morrison. I locked him down. I checked into the game, and Adam Morrison says, so there's 30 seconds left in the half. And this is one I don't know if you can find it, but it was on TV. I check into the game with 30 seconds. Casey Franson had 2 fouls. They didn't want him to get his third. I walk into the game. I go right up. I'm guarding Adam Morrison. And obviously he's better at basketball than I am.
He's better at basketball than a lot of people.
He was me as well. Really good. I mean, there's a reason he was picked number 3 in the NBA draft. But he says, so I get there, and he says, what the are you doing in the game, you weren't on my scouting report? And I'm like, I'm about to D you up. And so he walks me down into the post. He's 6'8", I'm 6'2" on a good day, and he's pushing me I'm pushing him in the back. He's trying to just post me up. And I'm forearming him, and they're like, watch it, number 3. The referee yells that, and I'm like, he's number 3, I'm number 3. Who are you talking about? Right? Like, don't. And then all of a sudden, the guard tries to do a inbound it. I did a swim move. He goes, I got a steal. I come down and drop a dime. I didn't play the rest of the game, right? I played 30 seconds. And this is one that you can Google, Portland Pilots versus Gonzaga 2004 or 2000. You can still see I had a steal and an assist in 30 seconds played.
You want to talk about efficiency?
After that, over 40 minutes. We lost the game, but if I would have played steal and an assist in 30 seconds, give me some more minutes. But no.
Love it.
But so Adam Morrison, that was a pretty good. I mean, obviously him crying on the floor when the Zags lost. I don't want to bring up too many bad memories for the Zags, but that was Adam Morrison. And then like my junior year, I didn't play, right? And this is his sophomore year. So I'm in the crowd, front row of the student section, with a sign, kind of taunting him a little bit. And I was like, hey, why don't you go play Halo? And that was when Halo was a really big game. And he looks at me and he says, get your sticks. And I'm like, what? Like, you're playing a game, and I'm in the student section taunting you by saying, go play Halo. And your response is, get your sticks. And then doing like you're going to beat me in Halo, which he probably would have beat me in Halo. The guy's weird.
He's an interesting guy for sure.
He's different.
Very interesting. That's probably nice. Weird. I mean, I'm kind of weird too. So I'm not dogging him, but I'm kind of dogging him.
Well, you got to imagine, right? Like in his shoes, it's like he's coming from a relatively small town in Spokane, which most people think is podunk, but Spokane's not podunk. There's a lot of towns outskirts that are much smaller and don't have a lot going on because it's pretty rural. But like he didn't have a lot, and then all of a sudden it was just like this flash bang. This dude is amazing. And he went from like, no stash and a bald head to he has a whole persona that just people gravitated towards. And then if you got a persona and on top of that you can play, like it happens. Like he's an interesting dude, but I will admit the longer he's been out, like I've still been able to stay in contact with him. Most all the guys I've been able to stay in contact, which I think is one of the coolest parts about GU. Like, I don't think there's a single guy I could shoot a text to and not hear anything back. But like, he's just kind of like, you know what? I did my thing. I had a great run. Now I'm just going to be a family guy. I'm going to help coach some basketball. And like, he's still a different dude, but he is such a good dude. But it's like, if you got a camera in your face all the time, you're going to question everybody and every motive behind why they want to be around you. Right. So it's like, you got to like recognize wow, it's cool that I know him in a different way than most people do. And it's tough to bring someone down for as much camera time as they get, but everyone's different. Everyone's going to be unique, right? That's what makes it great.
I wish he would have been able to back it up because he was marketable because of the stash, the hair, the high socks, right? Like the Larry Bird-ish
Oh,
like
yeah.
socks and I mean, like I was saying, like a persona. Like look at what my co-host, the X Factor's done, right? Like that's what he's done.
Yeah.
Is and like if Adam would have been able to stay healthy and perform in the NBA, people liked him obviously because his form. I mean, it was kind of like that Larry Bird, like back here.
That was his guy. Larry Bird was his guy.
I can tell. Yeah, he's got some Larry Bird resemblance for sure.
Got that little bump fade kind of, and just that same kind of like, I don't care what anybody thinks. And that's what made Larry Bird different.
Right.
That I don't care. You can make fun of me. You can talk trash to me, but I'm going to beat you.
Yeah. His competitive spirit is something that I'll never, like, that was something we always talked about. Like, that dude, he didn't care how the ball went in the hoop. The ball was going in the hoop. And if you weren't putting it in the hoop, or like, he was going to let you know about it, you know. And for him, a bad shot is better than a turnover, right? But man, he could play ball. Maybe need a little bit more defensive prowess, but boy, that dude could score, and he could carry a team on his back in college. No question about that.
It was him and JJ Redick were 1-2 in scoring that whole season. And JJ, I think, might have finished at like 29 a game, and Adam was at like 28, but
close.
He was deadly, man. Like you said, there was times when he was just like, I mean, obviously everybody remembers the UCLA game, but there was games when he's just like, let's go. And high 30s games. And
LMU, he had like 30 something and a half.
That's insane.
He had 43, I think, but it was just like, I mean, I think even the other crowd was cheering for him. Like, that's how good he was, like, in those games. Like, it was just nuts.
Different dude, though.
Yeah,
different. A lot of buckets, man. Like, I'm just thinking, like, being kind of familiar with college hoops, like, for somebody to score 30 in a game, it's like, okay, like, this guy was cooking. Forgot to have 30 and a half, especially with the hair and the stash and the persona around him, too. This guy to walk in the gym, 30 ball and a half, like, that's dominance.
And coaches being like, this is the guy that's going to score. Stop him. Like, not a single person can stop him. Go look at, what was it? I think it was fall 05. We were at the Maui Invitational. And that stretch of games, like the UConn game, Adam was in a different planet. Like, he was straight balling that tournament. And we played some legit teams down the stretch on that one. Like, it was, you were sitting there going, wow, this guy, next level. It was fun to watch that ride. Like, anywhere we showed up to, it was like people were waiting for our bus, whether it was going to practice, whether it was getting to the hotel, whatever it was. It's like people were everywhere. It was crazy.
It was rock star status. But I mean, obviously, if you're a major fan of B Minor and X Factor, you probably saw Rim Backamus walk on at Gonzaga. Then you probably got to see Matt Santangelo, who was the all-time assist leader when he left Gonzaga. And now we're getting Andrew Sorenson, walk-on legend. There's a few – Gonzaga's had some good ones.
We have had some good ones. There's a legacy for sure.
Matthew Lang, a current Max Hoops kid that I worked with when he was in high school, went up there. Yeah. Evan Inglesby's going there, or might be in school there this year as a freshman. And then
Brian Michelson, the Jesuit.
Brian Michelson, who's now – is he the associate?
He's Tommy Lloyd's still the associate.
That's right.
But yeah, he's essentially third now, I believe, because they brought on Powell. So it's like – so he's moving up. I mean, he's a hell of a coach.
Brian Michelson. If you don't know, Brian Michelson should be and will be a head Division I basketball coach. And he'll deny it because he's humble, but he's got his stuff together, man. And Gonzaga's team camps, their summer camps that they run up there in Spokane, top notch. I mean, they have put through like hundreds of teams through a team camp. It's awesome what they do. Yep. And Brian's like the guy at those. But, man, the walk-ons, I'm thinking of Hart or
Mike Hart. Yep.
Mike Hart is a good walk-on from Gonzaga.
Yep. You got Steven Gentry, who has a pretty
Portland kid, right?
He's got Portland kid, and he's pretty connected with NBA, right? He was with Miami, I believe, for one of their championships. He was doing video stuff. Yeah, he's been around the block in terms of coaching areas. You got let's see who else? The Floyd, Ryan Floyd.
Ryan Floyd, yeah, he's been built for ball.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of us. I think there is kind of that, like, you know, especially when you think about the 90s to the, you know, mid, you know, the first 2000s and then the 10, like there's 4 very different like seasons of team and the player that was on the team. Like it's pretty fun to watch, and going from a bunch of guys that just wanted to work really hard to a bunch of guys that wanted to work really hard and are also super uber talented, to a bunch of guys who are super uber talented, but, you know, from a recruiting perspective, maybe weren't quite the right fit for Fewey, to now this last 10 years, Fewey has just dialed that thing to the point that, I mean, he's pulling like Suggs. Like we pull that
anywhere, right?
Like,
anywhere.
Get out of here. Like, holy mackerel. You know, you pull a Zach Collins, who's like one and done. Like
Rui was a pretty good.
Like, there's guys that we're finding that you're like, it's that, wow, if you only took a little time to kind of maybe take an extra look, and you'd recognize it's less about any one player and more about the entire system that they're setting up as well. You know, all the way down to the Mike Nielsen's and the Travis Knights who are doing strength conditioning and training, right? I mean, name another.
Matt, the CEO of Hoop Fest, or the executive director of Hoop Fest.
Yep. Like name another program where guys play 2 years, choose to sit out a year to develop their game, come back the next year and are essentially the player of the year. And then a year ago, sign a 4-year, $50 million contract with the Miami Heat, Kelly Olynyk, right? Like, when does that happen? You sit out a year after playing a couple, you work on your game, and now all of a sudden you're player of the year candidate.
It's really unbelievable. Like what I've told everybody that's come on this show that's been from Gonzaga, like your guys' culture is unreal. It's unreal. Like there's not too many places in college basketball that have that kind of camaraderie together. So that's so admirable. Like that's amazing. That's why these things happen.
Totally. I mean, I remember just looking at like the university itself, right? Because coming out, I had a small community, like Grays Harbor Community College was the only place that was like, yeah, we want that guy.
I will say, Andrew, Grays Harbor doesn't even have a gym, just in case you guys don't know. They play at a local high school. Okay, finish the story.
Yeah, I was like, this ain't happening. Like, I think this is the point in life where I got to sit here and think education. Like, maybe that dream of playing in the NBA isn't going to be as realistic as I thought. So, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go apply to GU. And I just remember walking on that campus the first time, like looking at the university thinking, man, I want to be here. And just like, it's not a massive public school, right? There's only like 6,500 people there when you include graduate programs, doctoral program. Like, it's a small campus. And so it's also not, Spokane is not LA. It's not Chicago. It's not New York. Like, you go there and you are there. Like, you're kind of forced to make friends with the folks in the dorms and whoever's there. So the community is like, in where it's located, the style of teaching being such low number of students to professors, like you're forced to interact with the people around you, which just builds that camaraderie and that culture of people and relationships. And then when you realize like the athletes don't live in a different dorm, the athletes live with all the other students. So there's just this like, well, you're just, you know, so-and-so, like you're in my class, like we're studying the same study group. And that you see that in the Kennel Club and the connection with the players, because it's just, they're friends. Like there's not this like, ooh, it's the basketball team, right? Like there is an aura of that just being GU basketball, but as a student, like you're making friends with these guys. So it's kind of like that mystique is like kind of rubbed off, not in a negative sense, but it's not a scary thing to approach a player because they're just good dudes, you know?
Mark Few gets good guys for sure. And I'm thinking back and I don't think there's one. Brian Michelson, he's at Gonzaga on staff, assistant coach. I've never texted the guy without him responding.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I mean, I'm a nobody. He's a Gonzaga assistant coach. Same thing with, you know, I was on Mike Nielsen's podcast. Like, he invited me to be on his podcast. I love that guy's big time. If you don't, hoop commitment, big time stuff. Strength and conditioning coach there at Gonzaga. Check that one out. Rebecca, if you're writing things down, write down hoop commitment. It's big time. And then just Santangelo and just everybody that I've connected with. I mean, even though I try to bring up that story about beating the Zags and, you know, because it's so rare, right? Yeah. Like, we try to say it's a rivalry, and it's like, dude, they've beat you like 48 of 53 times. How's that really a rivalry? And it's like, okay. But the University of Portland has that similar, you know, every school in the West Coast Conference has that small private Catholic. I think Pepperdine's just Christian, but I think the rest are all Catholic.
And I think the other part I think that adds to it is just like, name another program where as many players stick around in that city. So like, there are so many dudes still in that city. I would probably still be there had I not gotten offered a pretty sweet gig where I'm at now. But like, the reality of the number of dudes that are still there, and they all come back to the game. So it's almost like this, it continues to be a draw. And then when you think about, there really is no competition at the level of which GU performs, being a top 25 program year over year. Like, you're not competing with a Seattle Mariners or a Portland Trailblazers or the Seahawks. Like, you're not competing with that level of professional team in Spokane either. So there is this sense of like, that is a huge thing. And the Spokane League, like high school ball, guys and girls, is legit. There is some crazy talent in the eastern part of Washington, which most people I don't think realize. They just think about Seattle and they think about maybe some areas in Tacoma, but it's like, there's some serious talent in eastern Washington. So it's like, everything is just like, it's this melting pot of just the perfect mixture of people with the right personalities and characteristics, and a city that just loves them to death, which is awesome.
It is. And Devin Culp from Gonzaga Prep, he actually joined in last week on the show, who played football at UW.
There you go.
But Gonzaga Prep, I saw him win a state championship in football his sophomore year, and then basketball his senior year at Gonzaga Prep. But Spokane does turn out the whole eastern side, and I just saw the next pipeline from Portland to Gonzaga committed today. Yep. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Ben Gregg from Clackamas High School, Portland, Oregon, just committed today to go be a Zag. And Nate Biddle will be making his decision. He narrowed it down to 4, which were Gonzaga, Oregon, Arizona, and UCLA. I just had to have a hard time not picking Gonzaga. I mean, he's a hometown. He's from Oregon. Yeah. But look at what that kind of stretch 4. You got Kelly, Rui. They're just pros. They're just Collins, right? Like Clark. That's 4 pros right there. And I'm not even a Zag history guy, right? There's a lot of talent, and those guys are getting quick trips to play for a lot of money.
And I think it becomes interesting then when you start thinking about scheduling and conference situations, right? Like, how would we be doing if you throw us into the ACC or the Big 12? Like, who knows, right? Our season starts day 1 because of the non-conference schedule. We just have to play because of the lack of similar competition level within the WCC. Now, you look at last year, WCC beat the Pac-12 in head-to-head matchups for the year. So the WCC is getting better. You know, we've taken a couple risks on coaches that we've hired, right? So you're seeing the WCC get better, but it's still not the ACC, the SEC, any of those. And so now you start sitting there and saying, well, how you construct your roster for a WCC team might be slightly different than how you construct it for one of those other conferences. Now, that's very real. But when you see these guys we're getting now, it's like, who the hell cares? Like, yeah, it's Rui, it's Brandon Clark. Like, dude jumps out of the gym. Who cares what size of a guy he's going against, right? Like, the talent level is just next level.
They have some great walk-ons, but they don't have an Andrew Sorenson. Is that a Rui? I think we got Williams holding up is that Rui?
Check him out.
Got a rookie card.
Rui
He came
rookie
prepared.
auto.
He's got the jersey on there too.
The mesh, the jersey.
That's big time. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
There we go.
Yeah, that is just the tradition and the history there, and it's really cool to see. Making the Final Four in the national championship game in 2017. I can't imagine what that was like to be, because I was like I kind of try to get in on the coattails as saying, oh, well, it's West Coast Conference, right? But to be a Zag and have been close so many times, and then to finally get there with Rim and seeing those guys just the way and just being so close. And then this year, this team had a legitimate shot.
So
special.
Speaking of that Final Four, that was literally one of my greatest experiences of my entire life, right? Because you play because you want to win the championship, right? Well, you think of the number of years that we've been close, we've had a team, and you can feel the progression every single year with GU. Maybe one year we take a step back, but every year you felt GU was progressing closer and closer and closer and closer to getting there. And so when we get there, I remember that week, rather than celebrating the win in the Elite Eight, I remember the first thing I did, I just went through my phone and I was texting every single dude I could to say, are you going? And it was overwhelming. So the first night, so Friday night, well, Thursday night, most everyone got there. We had a fun thing at Rex Chapman's joint down the street in Arizona, down in Phoenix. Everyone was there, which was super awesome. And you're sitting there seeing dudes you haven't seen in, 5, 6, 7 years, guys that are played 50 years ago. Like, we had everybody. So Friday night after film, all of us old guys gathered outside the film room because we wanted to we're here with you, right? And so Tangelo was the guy who was organizing it all. And the minute film was over, one of the managers came out and just said, okay, time to go. And you got all the guys sitting around the film tables thinking like, man, all right, I just want to go back to my room. I want to go to sleep, right? Like, we all know what it's like. The minute film's over, you're like, all right, where am I off to next? Exactly. Like, yeah, I got to get to sleep, or I got to hit up this honey, like whatever it is, I got to get out of here, right? And so we opened the door, and it was just like one dude after another. We started walking in to the point that you feel like you're like, it's been like 5 minutes and we're still walking in. We were rolling about 50 deep. We surrounded essentially the film room, and about halfway through, the guys stood up and they were like, what the heck is going on? And there was just this vibe in the room, which was like, I got goosebumps every time I think about it, right? That was just like, holy hell. Like, let's freaking go. Like, it didn't matter how old you were like, I'm ready to suit up, let's go. And so one of the guys had thrown a clip together of like old dudes and new dudes. Like, so we had a highlight video of like all the ages going on. That dude, people were losing their damn mind. Like, it was epic. Like, I was like, yo, coach, of all the times I said, put me in, now really put me in. I am ready to go. And so, then the coach said, okay, everyone got to leave. But, everyone said high five. Everyone gave hugs like, let's go win this thing. Like, we're here with you. And then we all sat together, which was super cool. But then once all the guys left, we just hung out and we're talking, right? And I remember one conversation. It was like me, Pargo, I think Morrison was there, Nate Dowdney, Derek Ravio, a couple other guys. We're just sitting there talking about it. We're like, all right, name your best 5 players, NBA players of all time, right? You got to get a point guard. You got to get a shooting guard, right? And we're sitting here and going through it. And one of the guys is like, Magic. And another guy's like, Stockton. And then so they're arguing. Guess who walks up?
Stockton's going to settle it.
Hey, guys, what you talking about? You? Right? You're like, wait, this isn't like just some random thought of like, who's the best point guard? It's like, yo, that's the best point guard. Like, mic drop, like conversation over, you know, but because of how many of the professionals act, it's like some get too big for their britches, right? And they treat the people that help them get there like shit. Stockton is like the coolest, most down-to-earth dude. Like, I remember sitting at Jack and Dan's one time, and my dad tells me the story of John actually came over to introduce himself to my dad when we were just sitting there having dinner. And it's like, not everyone's built that way, right? Not everyone is built in a way that's just like welcoming, warm, wants to say hi, introduce you, and be respectful. And so it's like, just knowing that that was the culture of like, think how easy it is to, hey, let's go grab coffee with a friend. Oh, I can't make it. Sorry, I got to move it. Or how easy it is to schedule a meeting and say, oh, no, got to move it. Something came up. 50 dudes in 3 days found a way to pause their life to be there for 16 dudes. Like, that is next level to me. That's what that university is about. Like, it's each other, being a part of something way greater than oneself, right? That, and then you look and you say, okay, now look at just how good they're being. It's like, yo, break that damn ceiling, you know?
That's awesome. Not just, I'm a little jealous, but what it does is it gives me inspiration to build that now as a coach. And there was a time before Gonzaga, and I know the people watching maybe don't remember because Ponce Young, and they've always been a national kind of brand. Yeah. Like we were saying when Santangelo was on the call, like, oh, I remember what year that was because that was the first year we had more than one set of jerseys on the road.
Yes.
That was the first year we wore Nike. You know, before that it was just a generic run of the, maybe Russell or just a regular jersey. You had two. You had your home whites and you had your road jersey.
Yeah.
And now they got uniforms for all occasions and light blue for N7 and Nike knows what they're doing. And Nike, I'm an Oregon guy. I know there's some other, but I'm a Ducks fan. So Nike, we're big supporters. Nike supports Oregon. Oregon supports Nike.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a pretty special brotherhood that Gonzaga has.
Man, that's nuts. I love when I get to travel for work that I always try to meet up with teammates that are playing overseas. You know, I end up traveling for work mostly in Asia. And so I'll see like Ira Brown. You know, I'll go see him in wherever he's in Japan. Seeing Heitfeld when he was over there. You know, Sacre was over there for a little while. Like anytime I'm flying through a city that I know a guy is at, or even if the city is another plane flight away, I will find a way to get there. Because it's like, well, I'm over here. I might as well say hi. Like, you're my dudes, right? It's super cool.
That is awesome, man. I love that relationship you have with those guys, and I'm definitely envious of that. But you guys, like I said, it didn't used to be that way. It's guys like you, Santangelo, Nielsen, those guys laid that foundation. Obviously, they were rolling a little bit when you got there.
Yeah. But
it still wasn't to the level of playing North Carolina in the national championship game in front of, 90,000 people. I was there. I didn't get to go to the party. I didn't get, as the rival school, Portland, I didn't get the invite. But that was a pretty incredible run because the Ducks were there too. The Ducks made the Final Four that year. So my University of Oregon and the West Coast Conference traveling partner made it that year.
Just a little bit more fundamentals on the box out, and we would have been
Jordan Bell, block out Jordan Bell. But I was definitely pulling for a Zag Duck final.
Oh
we didn't get it, but
so I will admit that was equally the scariest and most exciting game to watch for me because knowing where I work, there's a slight home court advantage with everybody that seems to work there. Like knowing how much Oregon and Nike are connected. If it was Oregon versus GU, I don't know what trash talk would have come out, but I know that I was receiving trash talk texts before Oregon even won their game. And I didn't have to say much after they lost. I just kind of said, maybe next year, right? Because what do you say? I don't have to say anything. They said all they needed to say. But the amount of trash talk that would have gone back and forth, oh, bless it. I would have given anything to win that game, especially if it was at Oregon. Because I'm not the one to talk a lot of trash unless you open the door. Like, if you open it, I'll want to finish it.
Yeah, then let's do it. It's fair game at this point.
Right?
Love it, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you joining. We usually have we usually do a quote of the show. So Nike has a really good slogan. If you don't have another one that you live by, Andrew, but if there is a special quote or anything that's meaningful to you that you want to share to I think there's 100,000 people in this Zoom.
Woo, yeah.
Maybe that will, because what's cool about the internet is this will live, because I'll get this loaded up into YouTube, and there might only be 50, 75, 100 people now that watch it, but you never know when the 3 walk-ons take over. They're like, dude, remember that episode when I can't believe only 4 people took advantage of that, or 8 people took advantage of that? You never know, right? So do you have anything that you want to leave as a legacy here on the B Minor and the X Factor show?
I'll give you 3.
Okay.
They're pretty quick hitters.
Get your pins ready.
Yeah. As a walk-on, if you're open, let it fly. You're not going to get many opportunities. You got to let it fly, man. That's what it's all about.
Great advice.
Right?
I approve that statement.
Yeah, it's an important one. Number 2, I always tell people that the ride I went on was better than I could have possibly dreamed. And so when I look back on it and you think of all those days where, man, give more. And I sit now and say, I didn't have any more to give. I gave everything I got. But if I were to go back again, I would find some way, somehow, by the grace of God, find some way to give more, because the ride was just so unbelievable. And it was less about the wins and losses and more just about the whole journey and the relationships that you built with people where, being a student athlete, you definitely see a very different side of college, right? You get to be the student side, but there's a very different demand on you as a student athlete that most people just don't see. And it's hard to explain it to anyone that's not actually been there or lived through it. So anytime I'm talking to people that like want to play at that level or be part of a program that truly is about something bigger than yourself, whatever you have to do, give it everything you got and then find a way to give more, because whatever you put in, you're going to get it back in exponential form. Like, it's just unreal. And then the last one I'll give you is kind of the 3 rules that my dad gave me back when I was a kid. And they literally, I remember I still have the 3x5 note card that it's written vertically, 1, 2, 3, that's lived through my AAU bags. It's lived through my college bags. It lives in the backpack that I get to take to work every day, just as a reminder of like grounding myself. And it was 1, 2, 3. So the first rule of life in sports was to have fun. Like, you got to have fun. Number 2, do your best. And then number 3, kick butt. And I apply that to pretty much everything, that if it's not something I enjoy doing, then why am I doing it? Like, what's the point? Like, we only got so many years, right? And then if you enjoy something or you're going to spend time doing it, do it right, do it well. Like, there's no point in doing something half-ass. And I feel like if you have fun and you do your best, by default, you're going to kick butt. Just because you've put in those first 2, you've got your mind right and you got the process right, then it's going to work out in your favor in the end. You may not win them all, but end of the day, you're going to be able to look yourself in the mirror no matter what happens, be like, I got this. Let's go. Next day, right?
Brilliant. I love it. Just do it. Hashtag just do it. Nike, Swish Life. But no, I think that having fun and doing your best, and then whatever happens, and kicking butt doesn't mean you win every game either. No. But kicking butt in life, I think, starts with having fun. So I think that if you're not having fun with what you're doing, I don't know if you're really a success.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can make a lot of money and have fame, but if you're not having fun, I wouldn't trade my life for yours. I don't know what it's like to have a lot of money. I'll be honest, but I wouldn't mind finding out. I think I'd still be happy, right? I think I would still be happy. I don't think that would prevent me from being happy, but I don't know. I can't speak from having it. I can speak from not having it, and that doesn't eliminate me from living the best life imaginable, right? Like
Mark Cuban, I think, has a quote about money that's like, money will not make you happy, but money will make life a lot more fun.
Right.
Like there was something along that like, just because you have money, you're not happy.
No.
But if you're happy and you have more and you have that, then life's going to be more fun, right?
That's what I want. I want to have, I'm not saying it's everything. I'd sure as hell rather have it than not have it. Yeah. Let's put it that way, because it gives you options, and options are good in life. So if you have the option, and if you disagree, if money is horrible, give it to me. I'll take it.
All of it. Put it in a bag. Put it outside your house. I'll even come pick it up. You don't even have to deliver.
Yeah, you don't have to deliver. I'll pick it up. But I think if you're not happy with, or if you're not happy having nothing, having everything is not going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Here's my quote. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything.
Sure.
That's big time.
Knowledge drop.
Boom. I love it. I love that one. But we know the X factor. Give us something that we got to know before we go.
Hey, the X factor's got this for you to know before you go. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Probably heard this one a billion times, but I tell myself this one all the time, because like it's easy to like hit that brick wall and then say, okay, this is tough. The going's getting tough. I'm done. What do we always say, B minor? When the going gets tough, quit.
That'd be a horrible slogan for a T-shirt at Nike.
Yeah, JK. When the going gets tough, once you get to that brick wall, do not quit. Go right over it. Just do it. Right over it. How the Nike switch is like this. Turn it upside down and like jump up and use it as a slide over the wall.
Yeah.
And get over it. That's creative.
Necessary. Make it happen.
I think that's great. If you don't succeed at first, try again. And being able to move from one failure to the next without losing enthusiasm, that's hard to do, but that's what can differentiate you and make you a winner, is if you just keep getting up. I didn't make it that time. I got knocked down, but I'm back up again, and I'm still going to go at it with the same zest for life that I had before. That's special. If you can find people like that, surround yourself with them and try to live up and be one of those people to your friends, because it is important, especially with the way everything's going now. There's fires in Oregon. There's just a lot of bad stuff. So I'm glad we were able to connect tonight, Andrew. I remember some fun times at that house. Shout out Elena Rainius. Elena, shout out Big Elena.
That was more years ago than I care to remember.
And Elena's now married, and so her last name's not even Rainius. And then there was Heather Bowman. There was a lot of those friends of mine that were Zags. So we had some fun that year. After I graduated, I moved to Spokane and spent a year getting to hang out, still feeling like I was a college kid even though I was working. I was hanging out at Zags parties with the volleyball team, and I'm like, who's this guy? He's from out of town. He went to University of Portland. He knows Elena. He's cool. It was fun, though. I had a lot of fun living in Spokane. Too much fun.
Spokane summers as a student athlete, if you choose to stick around, are pretty epic.
Undefeated. Or the Northwest summers, Lake Coeur d'Alene. It's hard to beat the Oregon summers. No humidity. Everything's green. Again,
thanks for the 9 months of rain.
Fires. There's fire now. It does make up for the rain, but there's fires now. But no humidity. I hate the humidity and the extreme heat like Arizona. I pass.
Yeah. A little too hot.
Too hot.
Too hot for the Heine.
Too hot, there is such a thing. Too much money, no such thing. A girl too pretty with too much class, being too lucky, a car too fast, no matter what they say I've done. I ain't never had too much fun.
Dropping the rhymes.
Boom.
There we
Damn
go.
right.
That's a song I stole from some song. Somebody else came up with those lyrics, but they do ring true. I do feel like there's no such thing as too much fun. So I had fun tonight, Andrew. I
Yeah,
really
thanks.
appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was
Great
fun.
knowledge. Appreciate it, really do. And X Factor, you know how we end this, and we better do it once, and then we'll run it back with Andrew.
It's only right that we got Andrew in it too. So yeah, we'll definitely run this one back.
But we always say, hey, if you're gonna walk,
walk on.
Oh, I like it.
Right.
That's
so
the
we'll
only
do it
sign
one
off.
more time, Julia. You know, Dylan. Let's go.
Rewind. Let's run it back.
Okay, here we go. So, you guys, if you're gonna walk
on.
Let's
Bada
go.
bing, bada boom. We did it.
Good
Boom.
stuff, y'all.
Cut, print, wrap.